Hello, dear community, and very welcome to our next series of Tech Talks with Amazon Web Services. We have TourRadar here today and a great topic that we're going to discuss with them. With us is Alberto Azambuja, Product Manager at TourRadar. Alberto, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dejan.
And obviously my co-host Daniel Zielinski, Account Manager for Startups at Amazon Web Services. We're doing this series together. It's great content. Thank you, Daniel, for this partnership.
Hello.
So, first of all, why did you choose Alberto to join us today? What kind of topics do you want to discuss today?
So I choose Alberto and TourRadar because, in my opinion, they are a prime example of how business and technology works together. So at TourRadar, at least that I perceived it, that your business side of the company knows exactly why technology is so important. And I think it's a great topic because, again, you're a prime example for that. And I really want to let the community know how you do it, why you do it, how you benefit out of it. So yeah, that's the topic for today.
Perfect. And I'm going to ask you, why is that so? Why the business understands the technology side so well? Before we deep dive into that, first, just what is your role? We try to understand what product managers do at different companies, what CTOs do, what technologists do, what kind of scope of to-dos do you have? What kind of scope, so to say, what is your role exactly?
Perfect. So thanks, Dejan. So as you said, my name is Alberto. Daniel is our AWS guy or our AWS dude, so he handles everything AWS. As a product manager, I work on a specific area of the company, more related to the infrastructure. I'm a technical product manager. I'm a solutions architect by original trade, by past career. And I work in helping the various engineering teams of the company to deliver on the solutions that are needed for the business. And that ranges from all sorts of different topics. My specific areas are on infrastructure and data. So basically, the day-to-day of that looks like you have a problem that comes from the business, engineering teams get together to come up with solutions for those problems. And together we work on the infrastructure and the technology that will be used to solve those problems.
And I have to intervene here. Alberto is not only a product manager, this guy has a pro certification. So it's the highest certification you can have for a solution architect. So whenever we talk, Alberto is like, yeah, this bit and this byte here and this code. And I'm like, dude, you're a product manager. How and why are you doing that? But it's a pleasure to work with him as he's so deep into technology.
Yeah.
And also the guys at TourRadar and the people there are like, you have, I don't know how many certifications you have in your team.
I think these days it's hard to tell, but I think at one point we were above 10. Now we're probably 6 or 7 architects.
Yes.
We have other certified engineers in other areas, but it's something that we obviously take very seriously.
Yeah.
We invest a fair bit on training. It's important for us that the engineers grow their careers and they understand what technical solutions are available in the market that can be used to solve those problems.
But I mean, this is very good topic that you opened up, because together with Amazon AWS, we're trying to, so to say, deep dive into technology side of startups to understand the dynamic behind the scenes better and also to understand the roles better. So what do you think, let's say in TourRadar and beyond, what is necessary, which skills are necessary today to be a product manager in a startup? Do you think you have to be a technologist to be able to do the job?
I think to a certain extent, yes. In the specific area of technical product management, you are there to understand what the business requires, so you need to have obviously a significant business focus, but you also need to understand what's the best, most efficient, most cost-efficient way of delivering on those solutions. And that's where the technology component and the technology training comes into play. There are obviously other areas of product management that are more focused on design, on user interactions, and we do have product managers at TourRadar that are also dedicated to that. They work with our research teams, with our design teams. My role is more towards the back end, the infrastructure and all the technology that power those nice user interfaces, those great user experiences. So I think that not necessarily a product manager needs to be super technical, but it helps a lot to be somehow technical because you have an understanding of how your engineering teams or the teams that you work with we will end up delivering the solution.
And in the end, who decides on the roadmap and the priorities? Is it you or is it the team? And who decides on the how? Because in an agile environment, normally it's like the team decides on the how and the product manager decides on the what. So how is it at TourRadar?
So TourRadar, our previous VP of engineering put together a process called request for comments. And it's very engineering friendly. So basically, let's say an engineering team wants to put together a new solution that will require a new architecture, new products, new concepts. So they will basically create a pull request on a very specific repository that describes their solution. And then they will invite different SMEs or different senior engineers or part of the infrastructure team to comment and to basically tear their proposal apart. Okay. And that is a collaborative process. So obviously no single person has all the answers. We have people with varying backgrounds, with varying skill sets and varying experiences. And what we try to do is to get that collaboration aspect to come up with the best solution. Okay. And that process worked well.
The best solution for a problem that came from the business side? Or?
Exactly.
Okay, so it's always the business side that brings...
It starts from the business side. I think even when we think about highly technical problems, they have a business component to it. If you think about latency, there is a business component. It's a highly technical problem that involves significant scope of the company architecture, but there's a business component to it. Ultimately, we are an e-commerce company, and we know speed is important for our customers to provide a good experience, which also translates into additional revenue. So it stems from the business into the product, into engineering. And I think at TourRadar, we do that collaboration really well.
How come did you manage to connect the needs of the business with an understanding for technology and the needs of the technology team so well, as Daniel mentioned? Why does it work so well at TourRadar?
So I think it stems from our founders. Our CEO is an electrical engineer by trade. So they really understand the role and the impact of technology in the business. Our COO, Nico, he is an entrepreneur. He also has a fairly heavy technical background. So our leadership team, by all means, is already very technical. And they understand the value that technology can bring into the business. And TourRadar, if you look at the travel industry as a whole, and specifically the area that we are in multi-day tours, that has traditionally been a pure offline segment of the industry. If you want to book a tour to Machu Picchu, you would normally go to a travel agent. So the essence of the company was bringing those interactions into the online world. So technology is an integral part of what we do. So
it's core business,
it's core business, absolutely. So everything that we do, from business development to customer support, we will use technology to make it more efficient, to make it better for our users, better for our customers, because that's where we see the future. And technology for us is the competitive advantage.
And where do you see what are the main success factors you see out of that interconnection between business and technology? So what makes you so successful?
I think over the past years, especially since I joined TourRadar, the company has invested a lot into building a platform. We are a marketplace, so we are a two-sided marketplace. We connect tour operators with customers that want to travel. We put a very, very heavy investment on the supply side and on the customer support side, which makes us extremely efficient in terms of operations. If you think about scalability, we use technology as an enabler for scalability. A lot of companies, I wouldn't say they make the mistake, but they choose a strategy of throwing more people at a problem. So when you have a scalability problem, you hire more people, you put more teams into place. We see it in a very different way. We use technology to allow us to scale. And over the past years, we've built a significant platform that allows us to head into the future using technology as a foundation for all the operations that we do.
Do you have a process on the business side when prioritizing for issues that need to be solved? Or how do you handle, for example, somebody who comes to you and says, we need this immediately for a client? Do you say, wait, there's a streamlined process to...
We do have a prioritization process. So TourRadar uses the almost classical now objective and key results. And we do plan ahead, mostly 2 quarters ahead, because I think we also understand that we need to be nimble and agile, that it doesn't make any sense to plan 3 years ahead. We have roadmaps for 3 years, high-level roadmaps for 3 to 5 years, but our planning is quarterly based. And if someone comes, I need something for our customer today, we will evaluate with all the different squads that work within product and engineering, do we have the capacity to deliver that without affecting any of the ongoing projects? If the answer is yes, no problem.
So in OKRs, you plan sometimes some resources for the spontaneous, so to say, actions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we leave ourselves a little bit of wiggle room because we understand that things are very fluid, and we make a lot of bets in terms of features on the site that don't necessarily work. So sometimes we go into a direction and we make some assumptions, we do our heavy research, we check the data, we come up with a solution, and we start the delivery. And like everything in life, sometimes it doesn't work. So we have to pivot fast and say, okay, this particular strategy didn't work. Let's move to the other strategy that we already also had planned. And I think that iterative process is one of the key hallmarks of what makes us successful as well, is understanding that don't set a course and be super fixated on it, adapt along the way.
I mean, we have perfect situation to second guess this statement, the Corona.
Yep.
I guess you planned your OKRs for the second quarter of the year and the third quarter of the year, and then February came and March came. What was the role of the technology and product department in one of the industries that was strongest hit of all, travel industry, such as TourRadar?
Cool. I think we to give a little bit of context before we get to the March mark, where the entire travel industry and the entire world got upended by a global pandemic. Over the last couple of years, TourRadar built a very strong foundation, and we put a lot of investment into our customer support technology, our finance technology, to basically optimize those areas of the business. I think our leadership team understood very well that making those areas efficient was key to make them scalable. So when the pandemic hit, there was also another advantage. We were a cloud company from the get-go. We still have offices in Toronto, Brisbane, and here in Vienna, where is our headquarters. So by the beginning of March, obviously the pandemic, it was clear that it was a global pandemic, and most companies were starting to close down their offices. For us, that transition was very simple because we already had all the pieces in place that allowed for remote work. So where other companies were struggling, they were closing their call centers and they couldn't even take calls. We already operated a globally distributed call center. So we operate a 24/7 customer service call center that is around the globe. So it follows the sun. And it was already globally distributed. So I think when the pandemic hit, at least on that part, we were already ahead of the curve. Our internal operations for customer support and for finance, they were already very well optimized. So while other travel companies were struggling only to process refunds and all they could do was process refunds, we saw our bookings dry up from a certain number to zero, literally in a space of a week. And then we started receiving a lot of cancellations. I think that the story is fairly similar to all travel companies. But we were in a good position that part we had covered. We didn't have to adapt to handle the volume of cancellations. We already had the elements in place, which allowed us to start moving forward. So our product teams came up with the concept of credit for future tours, because obviously most of those suppliers or those tour operators, they were very heavily hit. So we were working with our customers that could. We would never deny a refund if a customer asked for. But if a customer would accept, we would keep those funds as a credit and allow the possibility for that to be rebooked into the future. We were the very first travel company that did it. And from the feedback that we got from the supply side, that was really important for them in terms of cash flow.
And I would like to understand at this point,
Yep.
how crucial it is to be also technologically able to do it. Because I would guess that many companies would have the idea, but would not be able to execute it
Deliver.
in the given moment.
And this starts by automating everything and being like agile, as you said.
Exactly. I think if I look back to the efforts that we put into engineer, from foundational components, from looking at logging and alerting architecture, looking at data architecture, continuous delivery, continuous integration,
Infrastructure as code is also a big part.
infrastructure as code, those were foundational elements that we put in play in the previous years. So we were in a very good position when the pandemic hit, that we already had all those core components that allowed us to deliver extremely fast. So as product teams brainstormed with leadership, talking to supply, doing user research, and we come up with a solution, the delivery normally happened within a week. So we had specific engineering teams dealing with the response to the pandemic into multiple areas. But if it wasn't for all that core work that we've done throughout the years before, we would not be able to deliver that fast. So I think that's an important aspect to answer your question. It didn't really happen by accident. We put an enormous amount of work in making the company efficient and super agile in terms of delivery from a product perspective and engineering.
To give you an example, whenever we talk, so especially in the pandemic, we were talking a lot. Alberto was like, yeah, we were thinking about this service and that service. And a week later, I was like, Alberto, how do we look? Should we start? Oh, no, we already finished that. We were already implementing it. They were like super fast and always on the edge with newest technologies, with beta programs, stuff like that. So it's super impressive.
So that means that the OKRs that you planned for in, let's say, January, no relevance whatsoever.
No, I think that was one of the key moments where the entire team across the company saw that we had a very good direction and we had a very good plan in place for the delivery. But the situation was changing almost by the day. We were hitting border closures and we were working with suppliers figuring out, okay, customers from the United States will not be able to travel to Europe. We're still waiting from the suppliers to cancel the tours, but we already knew that they were going to be canceled. So we started contacting customers in a proactive way, saying, look, it looks like your tour is going to be canceled, because also what you got to understand is a lot of those tour operators, they were hit so hard, they had to reduce staff to skeleton level.
Yes.
So they didn't really have the capacity to contact their customers. Again,
Or to develop new products. And
through automation, I think in a space of 2 weeks, we developed a feature called mass messaging machine that basically allowed our customer support team to send arbitrary messages based on a set criteria. So let's say we receive notification from Italy that their borders are totally closed. So we know we have X amount of bookings within the next couple of months in Italy. We take a proactive approach instead of waiting for the customer, because the customers are also, we need to really put ourselves in their position, because they are also under stress. They basically planned this life-changing experience, this holiday, and they're not going to be able to go on that holiday. They might not even have a job because it affected different areas of the economy. So our idea is, perhaps if we put ourselves into their position, we take a proactive approach and we say, hey, Daniel, by the looks of it, you're not going to be able to go on your tour because of the situation of the pandemic. Here are your options. If you want a refund, click on this link. One of our customer support representatives will contact you and we will organize the refund. We offer an option to put the funds that you put as a deposit as credit for future tours, and that particular operator is giving, let's say, an additional 10% if you don't cancel and you have until the March 2021 to rebook. So I think all those small, not necessarily small, but all those features and that agility helped us a lot.
But, I mean, the way you're explaining that, the technology was crucial to
Absolutely.
survive in the Corona crisis.
Absolutely. I think as I mentioned before, TourRadar is a travel technology company in essence. Our product is an online product that was meant to bring offline transactions that happened mostly at travel agencies and still do into the online world. So for us, technology is the bread and butter. We will deliver most of our solutions to some sort of technology.
Do you think your industry and your product will go back to the OKRs of January this year, or is the world completely new after the Corona crisis? And what does that mean for the product and technology development?
Cool. So I'll answer in two ways. I don't think the world will get back to where it is, specifically in travel. I think when you look at the entire travel sector, what's happening with airlines, what's happening with hotels, Accor Hotels, which is one of the biggest hotel operators in the world, is thinking about selling their headquarters in France. So that's how impacted the travel sector is. And specifically with the airline sector, there is a severe impact that will take years to recover. I think the last estimates for the World Travel, the United Nations World Travel Organization is 2025, we will get back to the levels of 2019. Now, how did TourRadar respond to that? One of our key projects that we were thinking about doing, because TourRadar up until a couple of months ago was only in English. So we served mostly the English-speaking markets. And what we saw is that as the English-speaking markets contracted, to give you an example, Australians cannot travel overseas. I'm not too sure how many people are aware of that. But if you're in Australia at the moment, you are literally not allowed to leave the country. So they passed legislation that prevents even citizens or anybody. So Australians are stuck. And we were looking at those different signals from different markets, and we came to the realization that it was something that we thought about for a long time. We needed to internationalize the platform. So in the middle of the pandemic, we put a special project team together, and we're like, okay, it's time for us to enter the German-speaking market. And in a space of 3 months on a project that, at least in my experience for another company, would probably take 3 years, we are live in German. So the entire website is now live. We used a lot of technology from AWS to facilitate that. We used their translation services quite heavily because we also realized that it would be impossible to do it using human translation. So we had to use a combination of machine translation and review. Going back to your point, that's how technology has driven our response to the pandemic. We can use technology like machine translation from Amazon to facilitate an internationalization project that German is our first language, but obviously we intend to go into multiple languages in the upcoming months. And that gives us a global footprint into multiple languages as well.
So being that technology driven, give us some insights how you enforce it or do it within the company. I know you have some, for example, events like Capture the Flag. So I think your culture, your technology culture is an integral part of why you're so successful in terms of technology. Sure. So how do you facilitate this technology mindset?
So I think there's a couple of integral parts of the culture that really help a lot. We were lucky enough to hire, not lucky, also there was an enormous amount of effort into hiring, an extremely talented group of engineers that like technology. So I think it starts with that. If it's within your teams and they like technology, that's what they live and breathe, that's already a good start.
How do you check for that at the hiring stage?
So the hiring stage of TourRadar was developed over a number of months when we were growing. To give you an example, when we were at the height of hypergrowth, we were onboarding 15 engineers in a week.
In a week?
Yeah.
Where did they come from?
All over the world. So we had engineers from Ukraine, from Moldova, from Spain, from Portugal, from India, you name it. I think at its highest, we had upwards of 45 different nationalities in the teams, in the global teams.
And all of those intrinsically motivated to do cool stuff with technology.
Exactly. So I think the hiring process of TourRadar was something that was a joint effort from our leadership team and all the people that came even before I started at TourRadar. And they are very careful. So the hiring process normally starts with our recruiting team, our technical recruiting team, that they know the difference between Python and Java really well. So it's not your cold call from a recruiter that doesn't really understand anything about
technical recruiting team. That's
technical
like
recruiting
awesome.
team. So that's where the process starts. And then if a candidate passes that stage, they will receive a test case from TourRadar. And we put a lot of effort in the test cases to the point that we fully automated the solution. So the recruiting team could post a message in Slack that creates a pull request in GitHub and sends the message to the candidate. We were hiring a lot, so we had to optimize.
Automated technology recruiting via automated hooks in Slack. I mean, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
I mean,
we were hiring a lot, guys. At one point, the creation of the test cases just didn't scale. So our director of engineering took upon itself to go and automate that for the recruiting team, which made a better experience for the candidates, made a better experience for our recruiting team. And once a candidate receives that test case, he will have a certain amount of time, depending on the position, to complete that test case. And we use the same process for all roles, from product to engineering to data. Everybody follows the same path. So once they complete that test case will come back to TourRadar, and choose senior or a manager and a senior will evaluate that test case. If the candidate is selected, they will go through a technical interview, which is effectively the evaluation of the test case. And what we are looking there is to evaluate how a candidate actually solves problems. Our test cases were considered by a lot of people that we hired. They also mentioned that it was one of the hardest test cases that they ever had to deal with. So that sets the bar extremely high on the technical standpoint, and that makes sure we are hiring for really, really good talent. Then from there, that candidate goes to a final interview, used to go to a final interview with our CEO, and that interview is only for culture fit. So different interviewers along the process, they would make notes for the next interviewer. So let's say I'm interviewing Daniel and I'm not 100% sure how his organizational skills are. I ran out of time on my interview. I would put a note for the next interviewer to say, hey, drill Daniel down on organizational skills. And 50% of the candidates, they passed all the technical interviews, all the management interviews, and they were not hired because they didn't have the culture fit component.
Wow. How do you check that?
So that was our CEO on the last interview. So
and is it his gut feeling, or is it some kind of structure?
He had a combination of gut feeling. Obviously, he's one of the co-founders of the company, so he knows exactly what he's looking for in terms of cultural fit. But he also had a structure in mind on how people would react to certain questions to make sure that they would fit with the rest of the team. And I think for us that was extremely important, because culture at TourRadar actually started even before an employee started at TourRadar. And going back to your point on how do we get that point of technology across, we also have a culture of sharing knowledge and sharing the wins of the team. So before the pandemic, every Friday, we had a celebration event where any of the teams along the company could go and say what was the win for that week. So a technical team might have put together a really good solution in our global routing of traffic using global accelerator and proxies, and they would do a presentation on that to the entire company, which also kept the technical level of non-product and engineering areas really high. So people in other departments also understand the challenges and the technical solutions different teams are putting together. From that to workshops, organizing meetups with the broader startup and technical communities within Vienna, where our main technical team is located, and people take pride on that. Our engineers take pride on doing a presentation on QA, for example, into quality or into how we handle microservices. So I think the combination of all those things is what makes it work.
Yeah.
There's no silver bullet. There's a lot of work and a combination of factors that bring it all together.
And that's what's so interesting. We always hear technology culture, which is heavily integrated into each other at TourRadar. And as I have to repeat myself, it's a prime example how business and technology works together. And along the way, they have so much fun. Like you have a chief fun officer at sometimes.
We do.
Right?
So for a very long time, I think just after I started at TourRadar, that position was created, the CFO position, and the chief fun officer for the month. So you can put your hand up, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna be the chief fun officer of the month. He has some very heavy responsibilities. The important one is to make sure all the celebratory things like work anniversaries, awards, organize that for that particular month. And we have a chief fun officer on every office, by the way. So at any given time, we would have 3. And they also organize the monthly events. So there is a budget that is given to the chief fun officer, and they can organize an event. And that can be almost anything. So we went laser tagging, we went to the trampoline place in Vienna.
And everything is a trampoline, right?
Everything is a trampoline. We did escape room, we did all sorts of things, and global teams all over have done all sorts of different activities to bring the company together and to really ensure that culture is kept. So
how did you keep that spirit in Corona times?
it's a bit harder,
Yeah.
but we do, as Daniel mentioned, we did a capture the flag competition that was organized by one of our senior system engineers. So he organized an internal capture the flag security competition in our offices. We're lucky enough to have really good offices, so we could keep social distance and we could maintain. And obviously, our teams that didn't want to come to the office, they could join remotely as well. We do organize
I was
some.
there that day.
He was
people
there,
were
yeah.
having fun, drinking beer,
Well, how intensely
playing
do you
games.
guys work together actually? Do you join there, or how
I told you, he's our AWS dude. Like he talks to half of TourRadar most of the day, and it's a really good collaboration, I would say, and that's also important for us to know that one of our primary partners, we know AWS has our back, and they will help us out as they've been doing, at least since I started at TourRadar, quite a lot.
Fantastic. He brought T-shirts with him,
Okay,
but
Swag.
you can't just get them like that.
am I gonna have to undress and do a bit of
You
Would be great
Damn
as
it.
well, but
You will have to answer some questions. I don't know
All
whether
right.
Daniel mentioned that, but it's a quiz time for TourRadar. We had some really fantastic insights in our first part of the interview.
hit me.
Alberto, thank you for that. Daniel, take
So,
over.
it's 5 questions, and you have to get 3 correct to earn a T-shirt.
Damn it, I'm not really that good in
It's
tests.
part Amazon, part AWS.
All right. hit me.
So let's see. So first question. Jeff Bezos started a company with a specific item to sell, as it was still easily, as it was and is still easily, uniquely identifiable. Which item did he start selling at Amazon.com? Was it, or do you know?
Books.
Books, absolutely correct.
Hey.
First one correct. So yeah, as I said, it's via the ISBN. It's
Okay.
uniquely identified, and that's how he started, because he saw that internet is growing like crazy. Books are easy to sell, and that's where he started. And that's where Amazon took off. And the first book ever sold, fun fact, is Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies.
Okay.
Okay, so
Have you guys read it?
second question. In November 2004, the first service ever launched for the public. What was it? S3 or SQS?
S3.
No, it was not. It was SQS.
Damn, I always thought it was S3.
No,
There you go.
SQS, the simple queuing service.
I'm not doing the fact checking.
Damn.
Um,
I mean, who needed a queue back then? A lot of people needed
Yeah.
storage.
so yeah, but it derived out of the decoupling of
Fair
Amazon.com
enough.
itself. So that's how it started.
I guess S3 sold a lot more than SQS.
So 1 out of 2. Early on, Jeff Bezos was not totally convinced about the domain Amazon.com. So he was thinking about something else. Was it either relentless.com or cadabra.com?
That's a tricky one. He's a relentless guy, so I would probably go for relentless, but I think it's a tricky question. I would say cadabra.com.
Do you want to think again, Alberto?
Relentless would be too obvious. I think you're trying to trick me.
Shouldn't you listen to your gut feeling sometimes?
Probably. Damn it, I got that wrong. He's trying to save my... See,
No, you can still give an answer.
I think it's cadabra. You're tricking me.
It's relentless.
Damn it.
Let me
it was
help
good
you.
reasoning. It was good reasoning.
Yes, it was, absolutely.
I'm Brazilian. I always think people are tricking me.
Okay, so you have to get the next 2 right to earn the t-shirt.
Oh, 100
No
out of
pressure.
100.
Let's see if we can help you somehow. Amazon tried itself on the phone market with a phone. Let's say it was not really a big success. So do you know how that phone was called?
Everything was Fire back then. It was Fire tablet, so I think it was Fire phone. as
Absolutely
well.
correct, the Fire phone. So it was not a huge success. Let's call it like that. But
Let's call it like
But out of the Fire phone, Alexa came to life. So
Okay.
at Amazon, we also tried to do experiments. I mean, not let's call the Fire phone an experiment, but out of the Fire phone, we had learnings, and we took the learnings and developed Alexa. Nice, 2 out of 2.
There you go.
One more. Amazon Web Service is nowadays a key component within Amazon. But when was it founded? When was it officially founded?
Ooh.
2004 or 2006?
2004, let me think. I've been using AWS for
So
a
we
while.
launched SQS 2004, but it was not the official launch, to give you a small hint.
That was a tricky question, that SQS one.
So 6 or 4?
I would say 2006.
Absolutely right. So
Hey!
Alberto, congratulations.
Got some swag.
Swag for you as well. So a t-shirt
Well, good questions, Daniel. I like it. I learned
AWS.
something new.
built on Amazon Web Services
Beautiful,
for
thank you. I think it might fit me.
Yeah, it's a good T-shirt.
Let's
Have
see
to
how
tell me where
stretchy
you,
it is.
Where you guys have it.
It's stretchy enough.
We have bigger ones as well, but no
Around the
problem.
belly. That's where it needs to be stretched.
Awesome.
Well, we still have some work to do for you.
All right.
So we had the first interview part, then we had the quiz part, and now we have the word rep part. Few
Right.
fast questions for you. I will start, and Daniel, feel free to jump in. Mac or PC?
Mac.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
That's an obvious one. That's an obvious
Is it? Is it? Come on.
one. From Brazil.
Messi, who's this guy?
But you
Dude
were
from
talking about the
Argentina.
Portuguese or the Brazilian Ronaldo?
Either, to be honest.
Oh,
Anything better than an Argentinian.
microservices or monolith?
Microservices.
RDS or Aurora?
Aurora, it's part of the RDS family. Tricky question.
It was his. Angular or React?
React.
Football or skiing?
Oh, trick one. Football. Although I do like snowboarding, not skiing. So if you had asked snowboarding, I was going to be, oh, that's a tough one.
Football or capoeira?
Football.
Football, okay. This is a fan. Any additional ones?
Cross-platform or native?
Native.
Cloud or on-premise? That's it.
I refuse to answer this one.
Managed servers or build your own?
Depends. If it's core business, build your own. If it is not core business, managed service.
All right. I think
Perfect.
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Alberto, thank you so much for all the insights. It was super interesting for me as well. I did some interviews with your founders and CEO, and I know the business side of and the founder story of the TourRadar, but this was super interesting on the technology and product side.
Perfect.
Very grateful for all the details that you
And once
provided.
again, Alberto is only, I say only a product manager, but he has so much insights in all the different departments and
fascinating.
processes.
Product
and
manager is a great title
it's
because
always,
you can do
it's
anything.
always mind-blowing to talk to Alberto. On the technical side, on the business side.
Thank you, Daniel.
It's a joy to work with you.
Very, very nice words. And I must say, Daniel is our guy, our dude at AWS. It's also a joy to work with you. Thank you for all the support since you started at AWS and for helping us out, help our customers out in this journey of making tours available for everybody.
And it's obviously joy for us to work with you together and have this series of tech talks with Amazon Web Services. Stay tuned for our next guests. Eva Sports is coming. Many other really cool CTOs and product guys are coming. We'll keep you posted. Thank you for being with us today, and ciao.
Bye.